All right. You guys hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Super. I didn't have anything planned. I have a question and answer. I did get one email from someone to show a note from top to bottom. I will do some of that, but I do have that done already. That's the first InStride TV on the YouTube channel. So there is that one that shows a whole note from top to bottom, but it's very basic, as if you don't know how to do anything. There's no templates or anything, but it is a general overview. I will be glad to do whatever is anybody's interest tonight. I'd be glad to show you anything you have interest in, or I can ramble for a while, but I will take questions from anybody if there's something you'd like to see, understand, or work through.
I actually had one question came up today. So I had a patient previously from CareCloud, and I needed to send a refill for a prescription, and it was a kid. He was 18, but it would not let me send a prescription without height or weight. And I looked for about 30 minutes to try to figure out how to add height and weight. So I gave up. I just called the pharmacy.
I gotcha.
I thought you could put it in a note. You can put it in a note under vitals, but he didn't have a note yet for me to put vitals in. So I was.
So the way I would do that is I would create a telephone encounter for that. We'll make a new one here. So I would make a telephone encounter, patient called for RX, because they hadn't been seen before, right? And I would go into this virtual visit. Open encounter.
While you're on there too, when you type in messages, isn't that what goes to the patient portal? Versus if you type in actions, it doesn't go to the patient portal?
No, I do not believe that is true. The way we use it in the office is if somebody answers the phone, they will type the information from the patient here, and I will type the action taken there.
Okay. We didn't bring everything action taken. That's why for some reason I thought all the messages were going into.
No, I don't.
Alert saying, hey, message or.
No, that's a different area of messages where you can message the patient. That unfortunately has the same name, but no, that to my knowledge doesn't go to the patient.
Okay.
So in this virtual visit, you pretty much have everything you need for a whole visit, including, oops, I hit past results by accident, but including you could enter the vitals here, even though they haven't been seen, and if ECW requires a weight and height, I guess that's for BMI and the insured dosing, or let's assume that's what it's for. I would enter it there and then go to the RX tab to send the.
That would have been a lot easier. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Call the pharmacy pretty easy, but I'm sure it was the 25 minutes beforehand that you'd like that.
I was just determined to figure it out.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the way I would do it. I don't know every way to do it, but if that came to me, that's what I would have done, and hopefully that.
Yeah, I never knew that. I never went into that virtual visit tab, so that was.
Yeah, pretty much. This virtual visit has and can do everything that you can in a regular visit, including up here at the top and your templates and everything like that. So it's pretty much an entire encounter system within this telephone encounter.
Okay, so you can actually save little templates for telephone encounters too.
For sure you can.
Turning off on positive for fungus, your little board or what you
absolutely. You know where I might do that. So like in our office, they fill the message here, patient called, for whatever, and then you go under action taken, and you see all these here, action. I did not make any of these. I am not certain how they are shared across InStride. So I certainly would not delete any of them, but I might make a new one that says, let's say you wanted to say positive fungal results called, right? And then you'll have, spoke with the patient, blah, blah, blah about their stuff, and then you save it, and then next time you go in, so one thing about, so I forget which one of these, there we go, this one, and you click it, and it enters all the stuff you typed, and then it ends up right in here. So you can certainly use a template, but maybe I don't want to load that whole virtual visit. I just want to make a note that I called the patient, because as you think of a virtual visit, it takes a while, it's long, and it's not great. So I might have in this action taken area a bunch of those things that you use frequently.
I see your initials then for your actions, your quick actions, probably then.
I think I might put in my initials there, because then it kind of says, hey, somebody made this. Don't muck with it, right? Like if I see a template or an order set with somebody's initials, I might copy it and change it, but I wouldn't alter it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. One of the terrible things about ECW is, I guess they wrote it before the age of scroll bars on the side. So when you need to get to the next place for things, you got to use these next buttons and these, or sometimes they just have the greater than less than signs. And I wish they would just make it a scrolling list, but that's certainly a downside. But so maybe a template would work there for you, and maybe just having some of those macros would work well, whichever way you think it would work best for you. And you can, you've probably seen a lot of places in ECW that have these three little dots, the ellipses, and that's the same thing. Now, we could say, well, why in the world do you not use the three little dots there, and you do it here? That would be nice if that was consistent. But you could make some of these for your front office, because they say, the same thing, or they could make some, and they could do the same thing. Patient called for a refill of their medicine. Patient called wanting to know what their lab results were. I mean, how many things can you think of that are the same every time? And you can make little macros, they call them, for your front office, or they can make their own, right? Instead of typing, it all out when 60% of the time it's the same exact thing from patients. Yeah, have them or you make some of those and say, hey, here, I've saved you a bunch of time. Do this when a patient calls wanting to know their lab results, or whatever.
Do you ever use the notes tab on there?
I see the notes tab here. I would be lying to you if I knew what it was for. What I would do is write some stuff in it, write some stuff in here that says, this is notes. And then I'd look and print or view the encounter or stuff and see where it all showed up. Because some places you type things don't show up in the note.
Yeah,
right?
That's the purpose of that too. So I just was curious if I was missing something on that one.
Yeah, so I don't know about that.
Okay.
And I have
essentially putting notes there that he called the patient or whatever, but I'm like, no, put it in messages, because when you click on telephone encounter, it pops up at you. Whereas notes, you can't really find it unless you see that it's got that little symbol.
Right. Because if we now close this telephone encounter, right, and let's go, I'll open it up here, let's go to the patient hub, and let's look at their progress notes here. Wrong button. We're going to see, there's our telephone encounter, and look, here we go. So this is notes that would still print, right? But I wouldn't. I'd say, here's the message, here's what I did. I don't understand why I would say, I put what I did here, and I put something else here. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I want to click through all those tabs? I'm just going to put it in one spot and be done. But then if you had other things that you did in that virtual visit, they're going to show up down there too. So it does give you a lot of options, which is sometimes worse than too few options. And I don't know if you've seen this, but here we are in this telephone encounter. I need to it's not locked, it's not finished. I need to change it, and that's what this blue telephone encounter link is for. It opens it back up in this format to whatever. you need to
I never knew that shortcut was there.
Yeah, that was a lot of clicking saying, how do I get back to the message to enter some more stuff? So that's there.
Okay.
Those are not links, but this one is.
Okay. Learned something.
Cool. Who else is here that wants to talk about this? Okay, so I was asked to show how to do a note, from top to bottom. So I'll kind of start with that, and we can tangent on the way and see what we learn. So I'm going to just make this patient an appointment. And I'm going to make it for last Sunday because I don't have any other patients there. And I'm just going to pick this as a follow-up general, and I'm going to say that they are ready. And I always forget if there's something else. Let's see. Okay, so is anybody here that is not using ECW? Because then I'll approach it a little differently. But if we're all using ECW, I can move a little different. Anybody not using it needs me to explain any more? Okay, just shout out, let me know, and if you have questions. So, in my office, the nurse, my medical assistant will fill out the chief complaint, yeah? And let's say new patient with heel pain times 4 weeks, getting worse. And then I would have yelled at them if they didn't tell me which heel. And they might say, has been taking naproxen, right? And then in my office, my staff is going to go through the medicines and the medical history and the surgical history and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to do all that. I'm not going to bother. And then I'm going to come in and do my part. So I really just start with the HPI. I also typically do not use this window for my HPI because I don't use any of these pre-done HPI categories. You may find that you like these. You may find that you want to make one of your own. And it's not hard. You click the category button, you add one, and then you tell it what to put in here. But what I do is I use this quick entry button here. And if you've never done this, what this button does is it opens up this field with this label of history. If you went back to the orange HPI, it is the same as this history word and this empty box. So if you clicked history here and you type in this box here, box, and close it, it's going to show up under here with a category of history, and that's what was in there. Now, if I click this one, it opens the history section with what I had typed there before. If I click this one, it opens the same thing, but history up here can be changed. So let's say you were going to do a history, right? And you said, I'm going to use this box, but I really like to use the one that is this InStride new fifth metatarsal fracture. Well, you can do that, right? Right, fifth med fracture diagnosed at urgent care. Then, if we go back to the orange, what we've done is we've used this one and this box at the bottom. So the key is whatever is here is going to be your heading for your history. All I ever do is use that. It says history. If it's, for some reason it didn't, I would just type history because that's what I like, right? And then I do a lot of typing, so I frequently type my HPI. You can drag in here. If you're using an iPad, you could probably Siri into here. I am good at data entry and typing, so I type. You could have a template, right? Let's say you have a template and you've made it and it is for, right heel pain. And it says, patient is seen for right heel pain. And maybe you think, I'm even going to have that template say, patient is seen for right heel pain, has been present for 3 months, painful in the morning and after periods of rest. And maybe you're going to say that. And then you have to go in and change it if those things aren't true. So for me, I don't really template much HPI or much of the exam. But nothing says that you can't, as long as you remember to update and change the things that may not be right. You could make a template seen for follow-up of, and you could put, I wouldn't put many, I'd put, an asterisk, and I said, patient feels asterisk, and you could go through and then change all those things if you wanted to template it. It really depends on how comfortable you are and how you like to enter your information. You could template every single bit of it. You could do it typing or dictating like I do, but that's where I would type, that the patient's healed for heel pain. So I'll show you what I do is I use an application called Text Expander, and I have a little snippet that says I have a new heel pain patient, and all of this stuff comes up for me. This is I've done outside of ECW. I've been using this application with this kind of stuff forever. So these are the things that I have in, and I can say, oh yeah, no, it's left, and occurs in the morning and after periods of rest, and they have tried to get relief. They have been taking naproxen, and then okay. So I've got my HPI done the way I do it. You do it any way you want to do it. The next thing I do is I do the review of systems. I have not been templating my review of systems for multiple of my problems, but I'm going to change that because there's just so much of it that is the same. But for this patient, they are feeling fine. This is let's say it's an established patient. It could be a new patient too. The only difference for me for new patients, I ask them if they have any chest pain palpitations, and if they're coughing, wheezing, having trouble breathing. And then if they're taking their medicine and not having any trouble, then I enter my little blurb about how they're not having any problems with their medicine, no, heartburn, diarrhea, blah, blah, blah. And then I enter something similar for their musculoskeletal that says, yeah, this is the only problem they're having with their musculoskeletal system, as long as it is, and now I've done my review of systems. If you don't, this review of systems I made because I was trying to learn, so it's WFAC review of systems. You're absolutely welcome to use it. There are a lot of them. There are more than you're seeing here. There's a couple InStride ones. I always use this one that I made, and you are welcome to use it if you would like. But I got rid of everything that was listed above it, because now when I go into the review of systems, mine is the one I want to use is the one that's at the top. So that's the biggest reason for me to get rid of a lot of these other ones. I didn't bother to get rid of the ones that were below my review of systems because I don't care. I'm just going to use that first one every time. But if you're somebody that really likes to do a full cardiovascular review of systems, yeah, you've got that there. Same with GI and a bunch of those, but I don't. I use this. In all of these, this arrow, if you don't know, enters the default information, right? So I've entered defaults for all of these, right? So they've got no skin disease, itching, painful scars, moles, whatever. And that's the same blurb that's here, yeah? And that's just the default. I did that by when I made this, I went into this custom button. I said, This is the thing I want to be when I press the default button. Now you could also put other things in here, yeah? And they would show up in this list. So you could come into this section and say, well, I didn't really ask all that, but I asked them if they had any, rashes or redness. And I keep that one there, right? So you can fill up this whole section over here with lots of other things, and that's how you do it. You can go between the sections with the previous and next buttons. If you have information in those sections, you can go to one of them quickly. If you don't have information in them, they don't show up, which is, I think, disappointing. If you got the arrow there, show them all. But those are the ones that have stuff in them. So my review of systems is done, and now I'm going to do my exam. The vitals would have been done. I go and I want to do my examination. I do my examination in this window instead of just here, because I have a whole bunch of sections I use for my exam. I liked the way I used it in CareCloud with all of these sections. It is more of a musculoskeletal type of examination as opposed to a multi-specialty examination. It is the thing that the dermatologists use, and probably some of the orthopedists that are kind of specialized, because when you do a musculoskeletal type exam instead of a multi-system exam, it's easier to get points when we had points, and it's easier for the reviewer to see that you've done a lot of stuff. So I use this one. I made this category. I have 2 examinations in here. I have my podiatric exam, which is this one, and I have my class findings and exam, which is this one. And same thing, I just got rid of all the ones above it. So when I come into this section, my WFAC exam is right at the top. My podiatric exam is first, and unless I want to change it, I can just go to town and start documenting. And I do this very similarly. I will use defaults for a lot of things, like let's assume this patient is otherwise healthy and doesn't have any other problems. And so I use my default constitutional and vascular, neuro. You know what? I don't know if I've checked reflexes in a long time in my office. Maybe that makes me terrible, but if I have a reason to, I do. But in my regular exam, I don't check everybody's reflexes. And so I usually just skip that one. And then let's assume that their sensation is good. Now, this is a heel pain patient, so one thing I typically add in here is that no signs of peripheral nerve entrapment, right? I checked the PT nerves, and I didn't think that they had a tarsal tunnel in addition or instead of their heel pain. So I might come in here and add that. Here is, this is my default for this one. This one has a lot more information, and I don't do that monofilament testing on everybody, so I didn't want to make it my default. So my default is light touch, intact, no numbness, tingling, or burning, and then I may add other stuff to it depending on what their problem is. Next, I'm going to go, now I could have gone from sensory to the next one, yeah, which is orientation. But when I get to kind of orientation and things like that, most of my patients, assuming they're not from the nursing home, they're oriented, their mood is fine, their, affect is fine. And let's say this is gait and station. So this is kind of where I'll say, hey, they were limping, right? Or they have really bad flat feet, even though I'm going to put that in my other exam too. But let's say this patient, heel pain not so bad because they've been walking around and it's pretty good right now, so they're walking around just fine. And I'm going to do all of this kind of stuff for my, heel pain exam. There is pain about of the left heel and overlying the bursa. No pain with lateral compression, or whatever I'm going to put in my exam. Range of motion, my normal is no pain in normal range of motion, but for this patient, it's just not painful, but like a lot of plantar fasciitis patients, they have equinus. So I've used a little bit of text and something from the side, and nothing's unstable, muscle strength good, no rashes, nails are fine, no ulcers or wounds. So that's it. My exam is done. And that is really how I typically do my exam in the office. I frequently type while the patient is talking to me. I can type and look at them at the same time. So I will frequently be typing when they're talking to me, and I can blow through a lot of this exam using those defaults really quickly, even while I'm talking to them. And it all just depends on how you like it. You may want to make a template for a 40-year-old with heel pain that has all of this stuff, every single bit of this in here, except maybe the musculoskeletal part where you're going to put that. Maybe you're going to put in an entire complete normal exam in a template and then just change the parts you want to change. There is nothing wrong with that. It terrifies me that I'm going to not document something I should because it was part of my template normals, or document something where in one part of my note I say, there's nothing wrong here, and in another part of my note I say there is something wrong. So that's a philosophical discussion, but you could template this whole exact thing and just leave the musculoskeletal part blank. So I've got my exam, and I may or may not take an X-ray, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go over to one of my templates here, because I use templates a good bit. I don't use them as much as I think they could be used, but I've done a lot of work, and I'm kind of amassing more knowledge about how I'd like to make plan B of how I do things, but I use the templates a lot. I use a lot of templates for first visits and last visits, because they are so very similar every time, right? Patient comes in with plantar fasciitis, you're going to talk about shoes and stretching and medicine and injection and whatever. Then they're discharged, you're going to say, listen, you seem to be better or not better, and you tell them what you tell them. I tell them, keep stretching and wearing your sporter shoes as if you're walking pain-free for a month, and then you could try other shoes but never stop stretching, blah, blah, blah. So I template a lot of that because it is so similar on initial visits and discharge visits. I do that, like I have an initial and a discharged for my warts, and I've got a number of them. So as a Pearl, templating at least a lot of the text for your initial and your discharge visits, I have found really helpful. So this is my initial discussion plantar fasciitis template. It is not complicated. It has the diagnosis and my blurb, right? One of the reasons I like templates so much, and I haven't yet warmed up to order sets as much, is because order sets cannot contain a diagnosis. And I find searching and adding diagnoses one of the more time-consuming things, even with favorites. So I think I would template things, even if the only thing in that template was a diagnosis. I still think that would save me time, because to add this template, which contains a diagnosis and that blurb, I press that arrow button, and that is it. I don't have to hit assessment and search or look at my favorites. I don't have to do anything. And because at least I don't use hundreds of diagnoses, I'm not sure that I could argue that putting a template of just a diagnosis in it wouldn't be a bad thing. So take that for what it's worth, but I will use this template right here. We talk about shoes and this and that, and maybe, you know what, I'm going to give you an injection today. This is also a great thing about templates, is because here's my plantar fasciitis with an injection, and I go ahead and I add that too, right? Which is different than you can do in some systems I've worked in before, where templates are make your note with this template and that's it. But ECW, so many of my templates are just little bits and pieces of things, and I will use one or two of them within a visit because it saves me a ton of time. So for this one, I'm going to give them a shot. One of the things I have not templated in my shot yet, because I just haven't, was my little blurb about, hey, I think you need a shot, and here's all the things that can go wrong. So I would come up here, I'd get rid of that says, consider the injection, yeah, and I would use my plantar fasciitis injection. Hey, I think we need to give you a shot, and this is what's going to happen, and blah blah blah. Right? So I will add that. When I made my template, and I recommend you think about this, because I have so many templates for my routine care patients. Right? They have less than 6 mycotic nails, and they're dystrophic nails, 2 to 4 calluses, and diabetes. And I have all of that in my template. I'll show you. I know we're getting a little off here, but that's okay. So I have those diagnoses. I have those procedures ordered, but not documented. I have my follow-up, right? Because my follow-ups for routine are about 3 months unless they ask otherwise. And all my procedures are entered. I also, when I made my template, put in the XS modifier for these two. You could say, I'm going to put in the XS and my Q8 because that's what I use most of the time. And when it's a Q7 or Q9, I'll just remember to change it. And that's fine. But I don't. I have the XS. I have my skin lesions. And in the billing section, I have these all mapped to things that they need. And the last thing I did, which I also urge you to consider, if you see here, my in-office procedures, I have my nail debridement, my two, right, because I did dystrophic, mycotic and non-dystrophic, and I have my hyperkeratosis. So I would go into that procedure when making my template, open these. In this one, I typed C11720 because my 11720 verbiage says I debrided all nails. I don't separate it and say these I trimmed and these are debrided. And this 1056, I go into each of those and I put a space, just a space bar. Because when you add the template, like this one for my injection procedure section is already added to my note, and all I have to do is click it to go in and add my injection. You could have all of this here. Looks like somebody has something here. But this comes from the procedures section. This is another one of those windows that has a whole bunch of categories on one side and all the stuff you want it in the other. I have made these for Jim and I at our office. This is where I might document when I do an ankle brace. These are debridements. These are procedures. Yeah, so this is where I'm going to put in my nail and stuff. This is minor surgery. In my office, Jim and I said, minor surgery, things we do with consent form. Procedures, things we don't do with a consent form. So no reason you couldn't have one of those and all of them, but I just thought it made it easier, not as much scrolling to have two. And then this is where I have my injections. Yeah, so that's where I put my injection blurb from before, so it's still there. And now I have my injection. It says in-office injections, and then it says what it is. And that all comes from here and here. In my template for injection, I added 4 weeks for the next appointment because after my injections, that's typically what I'm going to do. Let's say you wanted to add a night splint. I have night splint in an order set or in a template. You could absolutely have an order set. I don't think I do. Let's check. I do have a plantar fasciitis order set. Plantar fasciitis. I don't. But in your order set, let's just go ahead and add it. Gosh, I have to remember how to do this now. Oh, I can't do it here. I have to do it in where I administer the order set. Anyway, so under procedures, you could have a night splint. But let's add it from here. So treatment. Night splints are technically a procedure. See, if I was smart, I'd remember the code, but I don't remember the code. But because what I'd also would do is I'd go to my procedure section, and I would go to my DME, and I would say, this patient is getting a night splint on the left side for their plantar fasciitis, and they wear it all the time when inactive and sleeping, and you can take it off to do your exercises. And I would say, all right, cool, my night splint is L1930, because I never remember. I find searching through the favorites and searching for things not enjoyable. Okay, so I've ordered my night splint, and I've already documented my night splint here in Office DME. Night splint was the stuff I added. I've already had the patient come up back in 4 weeks for a follow-up injection. I need to add an EMM code, yeah? So let's say it was a new patient. So I'll add my EMM code. I am weird, and I like to drag this to the top because it makes sense to me. I'm going to use a 25 modifier here. I've already, in my template, put the 4 units and the 2 units, and I'm just going to say that this is a left. And that's it. My note is done. My common send window comes up. I press the escape key to get rid of it. It's a lot faster than moving up to the X. The escape key will get rid of that common send window. I've got my office visit. I have my injections and my night splint. The only other thing I didn't do that you might do is Xray. I am going to make a plantar fasciitis Xray template. That's going to have the diagnosis. It will have the Xray order tied to the diagnosis. When I make my template, I will go into the procedure section. I will click on the Xray report, and I will maybe put in left heel if I make a plantar fasciitis template that's just for the left, and I'm going to add that already, and I'm going to close this, because then when I add my template, my Xray report will be started. I don't need to go through procedure. I can just click Xray report and get started. So it's a time saver, and if you do that 3 or 4 times, like if for a routine care patient, you end up saving yourself, 90 seconds to 2 minutes. And when it takes you 4 to 6 minutes to do a note, that's a good chunk of time, I think. So that's my plantar fasciitis note from top to bottom, with ordering Xray or injection and a night splint, and I would order the Xray the same way. How to bill it, and then adding your next appointment came from my template. So that's how I do this. Question: where is last patient visit? So is that question, Jim? Where do I see what they did the last time they came in? Okay, so the question was, where is the last patient visit? So what I'm going to assume that means is, hey, I want to check and see what I did the last time this patient was in. And there's a couple ways to do that. The way that gives you your entire note from last time is this box here, and with the drop down, you'd have all your prior notes listed underneath it. This is the telephone encounter we did. This is V, visit, T, telephone encounter. What's really nice is this yellow triangle button here. If you click the yellow triangle button, what happens is it shows you what was in a previous note. So look, here is something I had from a previous note on June 20th. And you know what? That's exactly what is happening again. I can click that and copy it in, which replaces everything I had, or merge it in, which adds it to everything I had. If there were more visits, you would see more of these plus signs. And if there was even more, this more details button would be available, and it would give you even more history of what you've done in the past. So that yellow triangle button is really helpful. This shows me all the previous chief complaints. If I have an exam, I can look on my last visits, and look, I used the InStride general exam on 6/20 and made this. Let's go ahead and grab it and merge it in, because it's going to add it, not here under my podiatric exam, but under this InStride general exam, which is another one of these types of categories on the side. So that down arrow button, it's good here too. Oh yeah, they're post-op. I can find that here. It's another way to prevent me from having to search for things. Same procedures can come up. I don't do a lot of this. I know people that do tons of this, and that is absolutely great. What I use this a lot for is my routine foot care. And in the beginning, I said, well, I'm just gonna, I'll just do it. But man, I will click this and find that last routine foot care exam, use it and modify it. It saves a ton of time. My routine foot care exam is this one. I use this, class findings and exam. And I probably should template this too, or add this to my templates where the constitutional is they're doing fine and they don't have any amputations, because that's most of them, right? certainly I'd have to go back and say, oh no, that's not right. They've got this, right? And they've got this. So I would want to make sure to add that. And then I go through and I add my Class Bs. I added a whole bunch of stuff here. I never use it because I use that other app to help me enter information. So my B class findings looks like this. These pulses are all absent except maybe this one, and this is, pretty bad, and that's bad, and they're all dystrophic, and they have some dependent rumor, and their skin is thinned, right? And that's my B class. And then I can tab to the next box and hit the space bar, and here I am ready for my C class findings, which are whatever, they are. Next, we're going to do the nails, right? So let's just say, they're all mycotic and no calluses today. And then on mine, I have added a place where I can put some additional stuff, because every once in a while there's something else I need to document, and this way I can just put it right in here. I could not, and I could just put it here in this podiatric exam. And then in my note, I'd have a podiatric exam and a class findings exam, which I don't think there's anything wrong with. I'm thinking about making another exam that says, what did I see it in somebody's template? It said area of concern or something like that. So that I can have my podiatric exam, fill it out as a new patient, bring it forward every time, except for the specific problem we're here, and then use a area of concern exam and use that and update that every time. I think that may be a great idea. I like that a lot. But this is my class findings is done. And that will show up here, class findings and exam. And here's all that stuff that I added. And then let's say, this patient has diabetes and I'm going to trim their nails, and they're all mycotic. So here's my template. Mycotic, 6+ nails, diabetes with poor circulation. I click the button. It adds their diabetes. It adds their procedure, right? They ordered their procedure. It opened by nail debridement procedure section, because I put a space in it when I made my template. So all I have to do is click it and go right in here and debride those nails, and then that's done. You could say, hey, my template's going to say all of that already, and I'm just going to change it. If it's not 10, I'm just going to go in and say it's 9. Or you know what? I'm going to write my my verbiage so it says all nails are debrided. And then it doesn't matter how many you got, right? But personalization is important for documentation. So I write nails debrided at 9 or 8 or 7 or whatever it is, because I think that's important. It added my 3-month follow-up. It added my 11/7/21, and I have to go in and put in the modifier, right? I need to add my Q modifier. This says the people up at the front, I guess the people up at the front at my house didn't add the date last seen by their primary doctor, so that's a pop-up. I don't need to see it, but somebody will. And I added their follow-up. So that's that. I got about 5-10 more minutes. If there's any other questions or things I can help with or show or talk about, I'm glad to. All right, y'all. Well, I will get this up onto the YouTube channel in the next couple days. My life is a little upside down. My wife has a trimalleolar fracture and hopping around and having surgery tomorrow. So things are kind of up in the air, but I will do my very best to get this up. And the next couple of videos for InStride TV are ready to be recorded, and those will come in due time as well. Any questions, you're welcome to email me, text me, call me, and I'll be glad to do what I can to help. If there are no other questions, I hope you all have a good night.